Okay. Anyway, let's get started. So today, yeah, I'm feeling like I'm a little behind in um, leading you guys through some different kinds of meditation that we're supposed to cover in this module. So today I'm going to try to lead a lot of meditations, starting from right at the beginning. Um, yeah. So we'll leave the prayers for now, and the discussion groups we'll leave maybe till later in the class. So to begin with, I'm just going to, because I want to start with leading meditations, but it also fits well to introduce, I know the next topic I'm supposed to talk about anyway, which is analytical meditation versus placement meditation. So I'll explain that first. So just to review what we've covered so far in the class. The purpose of meditation, defining what meditation is and is not, was like we did the first session. And then the second session was just last week. And we mainly discussed like how to organize a meditation session, beginning with the preliminaries, the 7-point posture, which actually I think we spoke about in the first class. But anyway, we reviewed the posture last class, and then and then spoke quite extensively about the importance of generating a positive motivation at the beginning, and then focusing one's mind at the beginning of the meditation session. Um, yeah, so generally how to organize a meditation session, there's three main parts: the preliminaries, as we start the session, then the main part of the session, and then the conclusion of the session. So the preliminaries include those three things I just mentioned, getting comfortable in the posture, the way we sit, and then generating, actually it's probably better to focus one's mind for a while first, and then generate a positive motivation, but you can do either order. And then there's the main part of the meditation session, and then which I'll come back to in just a minute, and then the conclusion at the end. By like at the conclusion, we sort of review what we did during that meditation session, what arose for us. Um, if we get any questions arose, then we make a note to maybe try to address those further in the future, or if any insights or kind of decisions arose, then we also make a note of that and try to integrate that more, and then we dedicate at the end. So that's the main parts of meditation session. And we spent more time looking at the breath, remember, last week in three different ways. We're kind of developing more the practice of breathing meditation. And the three ways we looked at, watched, the three ways one can three different methods one can use to watch the breath are just following the entire breath as it flows down into the body, to the bottom of lungs, abdomen, and then flows back out. To follow that flow of the breath up and down, observing all the sensations associated with that. That's the first method. Then a second method is to observe the sensations of breath here at the tip of the nostrils, just to keep one's attention focused there, observing whatever sensations arise there. And then the third method is to observe down here at the abdomen, to observe as we breathe, as the abdomen rises and falls. Um, and then we also, in connection with that, we also experimented last week with, checking to see if there's a difference in the way we feel when we focus our attention at the very lower part of our body versus at the very higher part of our body. Um, yeah, because generally it's said that, if you focus your attention down low, it brings more of a feeling of like stability and groundedness and a bit heaviness, which can be helpful sometimes. And if we focus our attention up high, it brings more of a sense of lightness, which can also be very helpful sometimes, and spaciousness. Um, and it's important to kind of know about that and get some sense of that because sometimes when we're meditating, like basically the main two obstacles to having good concentration as we meditate are like sort of it's called lethargy or laxity or lethargy, where the mind is too sunken down. Um, the mind is a bit too dull, too drawn within, and it doesn't have enough vigor and sort of sinking. And so there can be kind of a dull or a dark kind of appearance. And whatever we focus our attention on, we don't engage it with enough energy or clarity. Um, And so an antidote to that can be, one of the antidotes is to like focus one's attention higher. Um, Whatever you're like, if you're watching the breath, to watch the breath higher in the body, or if you're visualizing something, to imagine the visualize the image higher, or if more subtle antidotes don't work, to even open your eyes and look up, just to get a sense of spaciousness. Or also to focus at the crown of your head, to kind of lift your energy up a bit, make it a bit more spacious, light and open. And and then the opposite, and so one obstacle is laxity, and the other obstacle is excitement. That's for most of us. That's probably usually what we're struggling with or dealing with is. So excitement is where the mind, instead of being too sinking down, it's too excited, right? It's too lifted up, too much energy, and so that our attention jumps around to all different things, right? You can't stay on one object. It's kind of shaking, right? Because there's too much energy in the mind. Um, so, so an antidote to that, we need to kind of bring the energy down, right? And so one way to do that is like to focus like lower in your body. Um, or if you're visualizing something, to imagine the image instead of being up here, like down at the level of your navel or something. Or just to be aware of the sensations in the lower part of your body can bring a more sort of stable, grounded sensibility to your mind. Anyway, so we experimented with those, focusing intention in the lower part of the body versus in the upper part of the body last week. Okay, so that's, and then we worked with those three different types of breathing meditation for a bit. So now I want to do basically this other kind of meditation, which works with the breath, but also incorporates a visualization um, called 9 round breathing. But before I do that, I want to just introduce the difference between these two fundamentally different types of meditation, um, and then um, yeah, which yeah, and then practice 9 round breathing as it's because an example of the second, right? So mainly we've been doing till now we've been doing mainly like breathing meditation, and then also meditation generate a positive motivation a bit, right? So usually watching the breath, focusing on the breath is a type of meditation called placement meditation, right? So basically any type of meditation you can divide in these two groups, placement meditation and analytical meditation. Um, Most of them fall in analytical meditation, right? But placement meditation is what we do just, I mean, basically what it is where we focus our attention on one object and just keep it there, and just place our attention on one object and simply try to focus on that object without doing anything else, right? Without like thinking about anything or trying to generate a certain attitude like compassion or loving kindness or patience, um, or without asking any questions, or without sort of doing any more elaborate sort of visualization or mantra recitation or something like that. So placement meditation is usually done with primarily the goal of generating better concentration, right? By simply, so when we do breathing meditation, um, that's one example of placement meditation, where we're simply observing the breath and trying to let go of any, distractions, any discursive thought arises, a mental chatter, or, our attention wandering off to other sensations, or, thinking about the past and future. We try to let everything else go and just focus like on the breath when we're doing placement meditation, observing the breath. But whenever we're meditating, there's always an object of meditation, right? So the breath is just one object of like placement meditation. When we do placement meditation, there can also be other objects. Like when we can visualize an image. It's very common to visualize an image of Shakyamuni Buddha or Tara or Chenrezig or another deity. And you can even just visualize a flower or a candle flame or something. And then just focus. So at the beginning, when we generate the visualized image, we imagine an image, say, of Shakyamuni Buddha. That's more like analytical, right? We're trying to generate that image. But once we have some degree of the image generated, then we just stop and focus on that without trying to do anything else. And that's placement meditation. We can also focus on like the nature of the mind, just observing like the pure nature of our own mind. That could be place, that's a sort of placement meditation. But what all placement meditation has in common is we're simply focusing on one object without doing something kind of else, more dynamic in relation to the object. And the main objective is just to generate better concentration, right? So then the other kind of, and sometimes placement meditation, it gives rise to like a long-term result is a kind of a level of meditative concentration called calm abiding, where by generating very refined and single-pointed concentration, it gives rise to kind of a bliss. It's called bliss and pliancy in the body and in the mind. Um, so yeah, maybe I can say more about that later, but that at the point we generate this kind of naturally arising bliss and pliancy. I guess the bliss means there's a very blissful sensations in the body and very blissful sensations in the mind arise from the mind being so focused, right? Single pointedly focused without any distraction whatsoever. Um, and the reason that bliss arises is because, in a way, it's because of pliancy, right? Because the subtle energies in the body, which are connected with the mind, right? They flow, they become perfectly balanced, and they flow in sort of without any obstruction and with great balance and ease. And so there's no longer sort of coarse energy blockages in the body, and that's connected with pliancy, right? So there's a physical pliancy where the body feels extremely light, like cotton wool, and there's no sense of dis-ease or discomfort or kind of heaviness or tightness in the body. So it becomes very easy to just sit for, for many hours in meditative equipoise. And also in the mind, there's pliancy in the mind where there's no longer any kind of blockage or resistance in the mind to just being able to sit in perfect concentration. That's a very high level of meditative concentration, right? Not many people achieve that, but but practicing placement meditation is, in order to generate better mental focus, and a long-term result of that is this kind of calm abiding, which is Sanskrit for that shamatha. So you hear that word shamatha sometimes. So then the other kind of meditation I wanted to introduce is called analytical meditation. So analytical meditation there's a whole variety of different types of analytical meditation, but what they all have roughly in common is that they're all not simply focusing on one object. There is mental focus, but within focusing on an object of meditation, we're always doing something more, right? Doing something different. So, for example, that's where I put like what, 5 bullet points there. So one type of analytical meditation is like where you question or investigate an issue, right? You think about, for example, do past and future lives really exist? How does each moment of mind arise? What happens, at the time of death? What is anger, and what are the drawbacks of anger? How to reduce, attachment. So there's all different kinds of questions that we can contemplate in meditation. So that's one kind of analytical meditation, is questioning or investigating. Another is just like reviewing, thinking over, for example, after a meditation, after a class like this, or a Dharma talk you attend, or reading a little bit of a Dharma book, or some spiritual book, you can, in meditation, just review. Well, what do I remember from that? What can I glean from that that's useful for me? That's another kind of analytical meditation, is reviewing things. Or I mean, you can even review, like, it doesn't have to be something, a book or a teaching that you heard. You can also review like what happened today in my life. If you're meditating in the evening or meditating in the morning, think, if there's something that arose from you, maybe it's difficult or maybe very inspiring, just to, think back on that and reflect on that, right? Can be sort of reviewing meditation. Um, and then another type of analytical meditation is like generating a particular attitude or an outlook. So, for example, meditation on loving kindness or compassion are very common, uh, examples of that type of meditation, where we deliberately try to generate a positive attitude. Um, yeah. And then another is like aspiring prayer. When we make prayers, like when we generate a motivation at the beginning or dedication at the end, when we dedicate at the end with prayers, that's a type of analytical meditation. Right? And then another kind is like visualizing. So when we visualize, um, a deity in front, or visualize ourselves rising as a deity, those are also, I think we've done in this class even visualize all sensory beings seated around us. Those are all also a type of analytical meditation, visualizing. So, and like analytical meditation, one of the main aims is to give rise to, actually to generate wisdom, right? To generate a deeper understanding of ourselves, of other people, of different issues in life. Um, and so a very highly developed form of wisdom is called a special insight, or vipassana in Sanskrit. Um, and then finally, before I'll give you all a chance to ask any questions about these two, um, but there's a way to combine these two, right? So it's not like in any one session we only do placement meditation or only do analytical meditation. Most meditation sessions are a combination of the two, right? Um, for example, like think of an ordinary meditation session. When we sit down and first just sit in our posture comfortably and scan through the body to check if there's any discomfort or blockage, kind of, or tension, tightness in the body. That's a kind of analytical meditation, right? And then when we generate a positive motivation, that's also an analytical meditation. I mean, first we actually sort of check the state of our mind, and then try to generate a more virtuous attitude, virtuous motivation for the session. So that's a kind of analytical meditation. And then usually at the beginning of the session, we also spend some time just doing placement meditation to generate better mental focus, kind of relax and generate better mental focus. So that's placement meditation, right? And then usually in Tibetan Buddhism, like for most practitioners, the main body of the meditation is typically some form of analytical meditation, whether it's visualization or generating different attitudes or meditating on some topic of the Lamrim. The Lamrim is a whole series of topics for contemplation that we'll look at in a future module. But and then when we dedicate at the end, that's also a form of analytical meditation. But especially in terms of combining placement meditation and analytical meditation, one of the um, one of the key ways we combine is even when we're doing the main part of a meditation session. Say we're like, um, mm, well, it's especially relevant if you're analyzing or thinking about a question. Like, I don't know. Let's say you're just thinking about something that happened recently in your life, like some difficult encounter with someone else or conversation with someone else, and you're looking at, trying to understand more deeply what was going on, for you, what was going on for the other person. That's a kind of analytical meditation, right? But when you come to some kind of new insight, seeing something newly that we hadn't recognized before, then it's important to recognize, oh, this is a significant kind of something new I'm understanding, newly understanding. So then it's important to just stay with that for a while, not just like move on and think about something else. So whenever we have, like when we're doing analytical meditation, thinking about whatever, and you have a sense of seeing something newly, recognizing something that we didn't recognize or understand quite that way before. It's important to recognize, to also recognize those kind of experiences, those kind of epiphanies, and then practice placement meditation at that time, just being present with that understanding, right? Um, and as a way of trying to integrate it more into your kind of experience, I guess. or your character or your life outlook um, as part of into your being of who you are as a person. Um, and then what we'll find though, even when we have an epiphany like that, and then just stay with it for a while, after some time it'll fade naturally. And then we go back to whatever, analytical meditation we're doing. So even when you're doing analytical meditation, you kind of alternate the two, like that. You sometimes analyze and then sometimes just do placement meditation. Um, so you kind of alter them like that. Um, in the analog, so what we'll do next is we'll do, well, maybe I'll come back to that, the meditation we're about to do. But are there any questions about those, like placement meditation, analytical meditations, and then how to combine the two? Yes. I'll wait for the microphone so that people online can hear you.
Would you say that the analytical meditation is absolutely intentional, or it is the result of placement meditation, or could it be either?
It's not really the result of placement like when you say, is it the result of placement meditation? Like, what do you have in mind?
Well, specifically, I've never asked my mother, but every time, whenever we're like discussing something and it hasn't been resolved, if she happens to then sit down and meditate later that day, 'cause she meditates twice a day,
Mhm.
I know she's gonna come back to me and say, "Oh, I thought of this new thing." And I've never asked her.
Mhm.
I've always wondered, like,
Yeah, that's
did
very
you
common.
intentionally sit down to focus that or on that, or did it just happen?
Oh, like that.
Yeah.
You, I think because I do that all the time too. I
Okay.
always find if someone asks me like a difficult question or something,
Mm-hmm.
I always can give a better answer.
Mm.
Or if I have to make a difficult decision in my life, I always try
Oh,
to not make a call on it until I've done my morning meditation session.
okay.
Because always insights come like while you're
Mm-hmm.
meditating, just because your mind is in a better space now, and you can more
Mm-hmm.
deliberately and clearly think about things. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a very natural thing. Like when, especially you had, some, I don't know, uneasy conversation or some question came up
Mm-hmm.
or have to make a decision, like those things, I mean, they weigh on our mind, right? So they
Mm-hmm.
naturally come up in meditation.
Mm.
I mean, that's something that naturally happens, but it can also be more deliberate, right?
Okay.
That's also good, right?
Yeah.
To recognize that the space when we're meditating is just a good space to work through things,
Mm-hmm.
and then intentionally think of them. But it also happens naturally, right? Either way. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't say there's a pattern that like analytical meditation is a result of placement meditation,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because usually because I think your question was, when is analytical meditation something you do intentionally, or is it just a
Right.
result of placement meditation? It can be either,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Thanks.
But there is a kind of a paradox, right? Because usually when we're doing placement meditation, we're trying to not think of anything, right?
Yeah.
But and if you're strictly doing placement meditation, then yeah, you really shouldn't think about those things in that time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's always helpful as part of our meditation practice to make space just to think about the things that are going on in our life, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a more clear, deliberate, and kind of, I don't know, objective way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that should be part of our meditation practice, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the richest ways to reap benefits of your meditation
Mm-hmm.
practice, right, in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And that, yeah, that can be more of a deliberate thing.
Mm.
Yes.
Oh, so there's a Zoom question.
Okay. Joanne?
Yeah, I was wondering if you had gone through the 9-point breathing, or did I miss that?
The 9-point breathing.
Yeah, it was actually on your slide. I think it was called 9-point
Oh,
breathing.
the 9 round breathing.
9 round.
No, we're about to do that.
Oh, okay.
We haven't gone through that yet.
Okay, great.
I know it was on the slide, but I didn't get to it last week.
Great.
Stan needs the mic.
So, um, So far, our discussion has been around, formal meditation. I'm going to meditate now. I'm going to do every formal thing there. And I find, to my delight, from my day lately, it's throughout the day I'm trying to bring a meditative mind to everything I do, and it's really become more and more present. And for example, when I'm riding in my car, and I'm going along, and then this is got person's going slow. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. I just start thinking, don't
That
engage.
triggers them Om Mani Padme Hums when someone's going.
It certainly
Are
does
you a
for me.
fast driver, Stan?
No, but if we go or I am late or whatever, so whatever the circumstance is and that just calms me down. But there's also as a result of some of the meditations we've been doing and the teachings you've been giving, I've been thinking so much about trying to analyze what is my mind actually doing at any given time, and really, and so it's not like as formal meditation things. I'm tasked with functioning in the world, driving my car, being there. But usually, it's some nominal functional situation that I can just sort of also think about how is my mind working right now, and always looking for that inner part of my mind. And so my question, therefore, is this not some form of meditation that, and how would you talk about that?
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, excellent question. And I think that question arises probably because you've been meditating a long time,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah, typically, like you see, well, just to draw from, scriptures first, like you see in the descriptions of how to do a meditation retreat, that, when you're doing meditation retreat, but it also applies just to daily life practice, we can divide our time up into the formal meditation sessions, which is kind of what we've been mostly talking about, and the time between sessions, which you're talking about, right? So as a beginner, they're very different, right? The quality of your awareness during meditation session is generally more focused, more self-aware, more deliberately doing something with your mind. And then the time between meditation sessions, you're cooking or cleaning or sleeping or driving or working or doing all other kinds of things, right? And the quality of awareness is quite different. But the longer we meditate, then the more they blend, right, together. And so a long-term goal is that everything we're doing, we're always in kind of a meditative state, which doesn't mean like we're, spaced out or something. It just means we're much more aware of what's going on in our minds, with our minds, and we're bringing more deliberately like a kind of positive intention and a positive quality of mind to whatever we're doing. And then, for a real yogi, like everything is like meditation. There's not a big difference between the time during sessions and the time between sessions. It's all kind of part of meditation. Yeah, so so I think that is meditation. You can, and that's another reason it's good to like also try to practice meditation deliberately while you're walking, or while you're while you're driving, while you're sitting in traffic. And that's, I think, one of the biggest, I think, one of the most kind of beautiful things about Tibetan Buddhism, I find, is there's such a wide variety of different types of meditation. There's, for every type of person and every situation, there's always something to do, right? Yeah. Actually, I know I was thinking about the readings for this class, because I mean, one of the required readings is like how to meditate, that whole book. But there's a whole book. It's like, I was thinking that it's so much. It's a lot, It's a great book. Yeah, it's an excellent book. And all the topics in that book, I was feeling like it's a lot because like in the chapter on analytical meditation, which I'm planning to assign some of that for this coming week as a homework. But like the first thing is on emptiness, which is like, and it's an intense topic, and then there's impermanence and then death, right? And those are all topics like we don't have time to go through in this module, but as part of this larger course, Discovering Buddhism, we'll gradually go through all those topics. So, I mean, if you're into reading that whole book for this module, that's great, but we won't be able to go through all those meditations in this module. There's just not time. But you can also, I know she explains really clearly, really nicely. But you can also just, because if you're taking this whole course, Discovering Buddhism course, you can also wait and read those chapters as we're going through those topics, like later on. I guess I thought of that book now because you get a sense of all the different variety of meditations there are, like, to do. And you can always use one of them. But I think it's also helpful to find like a meditation that you really resonate with, and that's kind of your default one that you go back to. Like, it sounds like you really like reciting Om Mani Padme Hum, and I mean, not to say I don't know, but yeah, it's good to, like, if there's some practice, a visualization, or some um, like like attitude that we like to develop, that we just kind of make that our default, and during the day we come back to that again and again. That's very helpful, and that doesn't have to be one for life. It can be something different at different times, but um, yeah, it's helpful to anchor our mind that way. Okay, any other questions about, anyway, maybe let's wait for questions now. Let's do the 9-round breathing meditation. Okay, Dave.
Well, no, it's not worth getting the mic and doing all this. I'll just wait.
Okay, okay. So first, I need to show you a diagram because we're going to visualize as part of this meditation. So this is the diagram with this yogi. Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So 9-round breathing meditation, it's a tantric practice, right? And usually practices from tantra are not taught to people who don't have initiation, tantric initiation, which means you have refuge and bodhisattva vows and da 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 da. But it was kind of an uncommon method of Lama Yeshe, the founder of this organization, FPMT, that this center is part of, to teach this particular breathing meditation to new students. And I think his main intention was to help students get a sense of the natural bliss that can arise in the mind. And and also to clear away this sort of polluted energy that we have. And get a taste of natural bliss of the mind. So those are kind of the aims of this meditation. So yeah, and it's a type of analytical meditation that involves visualization. So first what we do, I'll describe first, and then I'll lead you through it step by step, right? So don't feel like you have to do the meditation as I describe it this first time. So looking at this diagram, what you can see here is the person sitting in perfect posture, right? So anyway, we just sit in whatever posture is comfortable, but it is important to have the back straight, right? And then you can see there's these 3 channels, right? So there's called a central channel, and then the right channel, and the left channel. So here, the colors are a little bit off, right? So I'll describe it. The way I've learned it is a bit different, the way it's typically described. So, but basically, the first we visualize the central channel. So the central channel goes from like about here. It's like the third eye, this place at just above the bridge of your nose. And then this channel, it's like a subtle tube. I mean, we visualize it like a tube of light, but it's like a subtle pathway for subtle energy to flow. So you visualize this tube of light that is like pinkish in color. You can say it like that. It's like pink in color. A little bit more whitish on the outside, a bit more, yeah, pinkish on the inside. And it's hollow, right? A tube of light is hollow, and it's about the diameter of your pinky, or a little narrower, right? And it goes, so it starts here at your third eye, sort of, and then goes up just below your skull, and then to the crown of your head, and then curves down, and it's just in front of the spine, and then comes down to about 4 finger widths below the navel, right, and ends there. So that's the central channel. Mm. So why don't you, I can go ahead and just visualize that for a moment. Imagine again the central channel, yeah, which is white on the outside, a bit more pinkish in the center. It's like a very supple, soft tube of light that goes from the yeah this this space between the eyebrows and goes up. And it starts there and then goes inside of your skull up to the crown of the head, and then curves sharply and comes down through the center of the body, just a little bit in front of the backbone, and down to about four finger widths below the navel, and then ends there. Mm. So that's the central channel. And then we visualize the right channel. So here the right channel is red, and that's correct, right? So the right channel starts at the tip of the right nostril, your right nostril, and then it goes up, and it's kind of is right next to, sort of touching, right next to the central channel, goes up also to the crown, then comes down, also just in front of the spine to the right, the central channel. And then when it comes down to 4 finger widths below the navel, it curves and then enters into the central channel, right? So that's what you see here at the bottom of the diagram. So this red one, you see it's coming from the nostrils, going up to the crown, then comes down, and then curves and enters the central channel. So this is what you visualize for the 9-round breathing. So try visualizing. And this right channel, it's red in color, and it's slightly thinner, slightly more narrow, more like the diameter of a stalk of wheat. It's a bit thinner than the central channel. And then finally is the left channel. Right, so the left channel is blue in color, and again it starts from the left nostril, and then it's just in the same shape. It follows up, goes up to the crown of the head, comes down next to the central channel, and just in front of the spine, and very straight, right? They all come down very straight. And then when it gets to 4 finger widths below the navel, it curves up, around and up, and enters, the end of it enters the central channel. So then the way we do the meditation is first we visualize these channels, and then it's called 9-round breathing because you take 9 breaths, right? Each of them purifying or imagine cleansing one of the channels, right? So first you breathe in. So you use your fingers to block your nostrils as you breathe the first two rounds. So first we'll breathe, you block the right nostril. So yeah, however you like, there's not a specific way to do. You can do it with one finger, or you can, I like to do it like that. Anyway, you block your right nostril and you breathe into the left nostril, and imagine your breath, so it comes in through the left channel. So imagine the breath flows, up through the left nostril, enters the left channel, the blue channel, right? And then flows down to below your navel. And then as you exhale, okay, so as you exhale, you imagine it flows from the left channel actually into the right channel. So when you do that, actually you visualize that the left channel, it tucks into the right channel. So at first here you don't visualize, yeah, I forgot this. You don't visualize that they're both going up into the central channel. You imagine the left and right channels connect 4 finger widths below the navel. So you block the right nostril, breathe in through the left nostril. Imagine the breath flows up and around down through the left channel and then flows into the right channel. And then as you exhale, you imagine the mind of anger. is eliminated. So imagine the right channel, which is red, right, is connected with the mind of anger or aversion. So as you exhale, imagine that that channel is like has smoke in it. So that any anger, the seeds of anger in the form of smoke are exhaled out through the right nostril, right? So you do that 3 times. So why don't we go ahead and try that, right? So first, just visualize first the central channel, white on the outside, pink on the inside, about the diameter of your pinky, a little narrower, going from the space between the eyebrows up to the crown, down, and then straight down in front of the spine, and ending about 4 finger widths below the navel. And then the right channel, red in color, starting at the tip of the right nostril, going up to the crown, then down in front of the spine, next to the central channel, and then at the 4 finger widths below the navel, curving over towards, curving towards the center of the body. And then the left channel is blue in color, as I described before. And so at the bottom of the left channel now, imagine tucked into the right channel. Yeah. And so now we'll take 3 breaths, and inhaling, as we inhale, we block the right nostril. Inhale gently through the left nostril. And imagine the breath flows down through the left channel. And then as you begin to exhale, the breath enters the right channel. And then it flows up through the red right channel. And imagine it expels any anger or seeds or stains of anger, the mind of anger, in the form of like black smoke. And when you exhale, you can exhale a little bit forcefully. Yeah, so do that 3 times, and imagine the right channel becomes gradually totally clean, clear, totally purified of this anger and the energy of anger in the form of the smoke. Okay, so try that just gently. And I forgot to say, as you exhale, so you block the left nostril and exhale through the right nostril. Okay, so inhale to the left nostril, and then exhale to the right nostril. So as you finish the 3rd round, then imagine the right channel is very clean, clear, soft, completely free of this sort of hot smoke of anger. So now we'll do the opposite. So now will block, as we inhale, we block the left nostril. Inhale through the right nostril. The breath flows through this now very pure, clear, kind of bright red right channel down. And then as we begin to exhale, we unblock the left channel, the left nostril. Block the right nostril and exhale to the left nostril, through the, imagine the breath flows up through this blue channel and then out the left nostril. And imagine a very kind of like a sort of sticky, like a sticky sort of very humid smoke of attachment, right? The energy of attachment is expelled. So we'll do that in 3 rounds. And as each time, imagine this left channel becomes more clean, clear, free, and purified of the energy of attachment. So we inhale, block the left nostril, inhale through the right nostril, and then exhale through the left channel, the left nostril. And then repeat 2 more times. So then imagine the left channel, this blue channel, becomes totally clean, clear, purified of the energy of attachment. Okay, so now we will inhale through both. So that's the second round of 3 breaths. And now it's the third round of 3. So now we inhale through both nostrils and imagine the breath flows through both the right and the left channels and then comes down. And then as it reaches, the space below the navel, imagine the ends of the right and left channels. So now they tuck up into the central channel, right? They curve and just gently tuck into the central channel. It's kind of like inserting one straw into another, but more soft and just made of light. And then as you exhale, imagine the breath from the right and left channels. It flows into the central channel and then flows up the central channel and around the crown of the head and then comes out both nostrils. And as we do that, as we exhale, imagine we expel the energy of ignorance, right? Of confusion or ignorance, especially ignorance grasping at a kind of concrete self, concrete other, things as being real or existing from their own side, sort of a reifying, grasping at things as being more solid and independent than they actually are. Or whatever kind of ignorance, or confusion or mental distortion we experience. Right? Imagine that's expelled in the form of just a neutral sort of smoke. Okay, so let's try that 3 times. So then at the end of that third round of breathing, of exhaling through the central channel, just pause for a moment and check if your mind feels more clear and balanced. Just check how the mind feels, if there's any difference. You don't even have to ask a question really. You can just observe, the nature of the mind, the state of your mind. Okay, so now we'll do it again. We'll in the complete 9 rounds all together, right? And I won't say nearly as much. So let's begin with the first round. Inhalation to the left nostril and exhalation to the right, expelling the energy of anger in the form of like a hot smoke. And then the second round, inhaling through the right nostril, exhaling through the left, expelling the energy of attachment. And the left channel becomes completely clean, clear, vibrant, brilliant blue. And then inhale through both nostrils. And then exhale through the central channel, expelling the energy of mental distortion, obscuration, ignorance, confusion. And then just observe your mind. So then there's one more thing I want to add. So this is called base breathing. And typically we do at the end of the 9 rounds of breath. So the last 3 rounds, we're right inhaling through both channels. Then the breath comes down through the right and left channel. And then as we exhale, it enters the central channel. So when we do the last 3 rounds, we exhale all the way through the central channel. So then after that 9th round, we can do what's called base breathing. So where you, again, you inhale in both nostrils. Imagine the breath comes through the right and left channels down. As we exhale, it enters the central channel. And then we hold the breath right here at the lower part of the abdomen. So I'm just doing it again. Remember how to do it. So what you do is as the breath comes into the central channel, you imagine it enters the central channel here. And then as it enters the central channel, you swallow. You swallow a little bit of saliva down. And then you kind of lock your throat. There's a throat lock here. Um, as if, if you feel like you're going to vomit or something, you kind of can lock your throat. So when you swallow, your abdomen actually comes out. And then, so you swallow, and then you contract your anus, or what's that? There's a muscle between like the perineum. Okay, thank you. Yeah, you contract your perineum. It's right at the bottom of your diaphragm, and that kind of pushes up on your diaphragm and puts some pressure on the bottom of the breath. So you imagine the breath is there at the lower navel, and you contract your perineum. And then you kind of imagine pushing down from the top of your diaphragm and sort of gently, not too hard, gently contract the breath right, right there in your lower abdomen, and hold it there for, a few seconds or whatever's comfortable. Um, but you hold it there for a little while and imagine it generates heat. And this is the way actually you practice tumo, right? To generate this inner fire, inner heat. And then when it becomes uncomfortable to hold it, then you gently, exhale through the central channel, just like we were doing before, and out, right? And you do that, we can do that, say 3 times. Yeah. So why don't we try that? We try that now. So inhaling through both nostrils, the breath flows down to the right and left channels. At the end of the inhalation, you swallow, and then you imagine the breath, the lower part of your abdomen, and contract the perineum, and sort of press down from the top, and just hold the breath there for a few seconds. And then do 2 more times. So as you release the breath, you sort of release those locks, the bottom lock below and the other lock above and at the throat. You release those and just breathe out naturally. So try that a couple more times. Mhm. So as you release that base breath, then you imagine, and you breathe out through the central channel, you imagine the body is pervaded by bliss, a very blissful sensation. And then within that, just observe the mind. So why don't you try a few more times and try to imagine that blissful sensation pervading the body and mind. And within that, looking at the nature of the mind. So then for a couple minutes, let's just practice looking at the nature of the mind, as Lama Yeshe was describing in the article for the reading this week. Just observing, the clear and knowing nature of the mind. And whatever arises, letting that arise and pass away like waves on the ocean. And also finally identifying with this clear, kind of pure nature of our mind, which has a natural blissfulness to it, and is ever present, often obscured from our awareness, but it's always present. So identifying strongly with this is kind of me, at the center of who I am, what I am as a person. Okay, so let's take a break for 5 minutes. Any questions about the 9-round breathing, that meditation? Yes, Stan. Kara, Stan has a question.
Actually, I was gonna ask him about football channel. Stan's got one. Here you go.
Thank you. Yeah, I've had this 9-round breathing technique, meditation explained a couple different ways, actually, and there's some variation. And I even read one in 365 Days of Lam Rim. Are you familiar with that book? And Lama Yeshe talks about in that book, I forget what day it was, but it seems to be combined with Tonglen, actually.
Oh, really? I haven't
Yeah,
seen
and I
that.
was in that because I had
Yeah, I haven't seen
I
that.
had been introduced to the meditation before, and then just to notice that he combined Tonglen with it as well. So therefore, it seems to me that there's not only some variation in this, and part of my question is how important is that, whether I start with the left or start with the right? And this was the more in-depth description of it that I've heard, so I really appreciate it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
but it seems like clearly there's a lot of different aspects to it, and it's used in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, you find that a lot in Buddhism. There's a lot of
Yeah.
varying descriptions of different things, especially like a visualization, like complex like this. Yeah, there'll be, and it's not particularly important. There's no like one hard and fast
Right.
way. There's basic principles to know, like to know sort of stay safe, you know, like especially a breathing meditation like this. Like one principle, I mean, it comes to mind is don't push too hard, right? If you really push too hard, like any aspect of it, try to do it too intensely, it can cause imbalance, like in your winds, in your body, and then in the mind. So be gentle with everything, you know. Um, Um,
Functions as
but within that, you know, sometimes the like the colors of the channels might be described differently, but there's always three, no?
yeah, right.
There's
Like
not like one, you know, totally different or
the
something.
anatomical makeup, if that's the proper term
Yeah,
for
yeah.
it, is consistent.
Yeah, but the colors could be a little
Yeah,
different. Like
right.
sometimes they'd be described all white, for example, or
White and
something.
red were the two
Yeah.
side channels.
And like you see here in the diagram I showed, it's different. It's
Right.
different again, like, but that, yeah, those things are particularly important. Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Uh,
But I also wouldn't try to explain the Tonglen here because Tonglen itself is a very complicated
That's a
practice,
whole
and then
nother
combined
level.
with this is like,
My
yeah.
point was I find it combined with other practices as well. So
Yeah,
clearly it's a dynamic kind of thing.
yeah, yeah.
And then I just wanted to say, I do this in my meditation. And in fact, I think it was something you said or something I read, but you can add aversion, attachment, and ignorance to those three
Mhm.
aspects of it. And I found that very effective. And then tonight was extremely interesting. Let me
Okay,
just put it that way.
sure, yeah,
Thank you for that.
sure, you're welcome. Yeah. Well, okay. Why don't we, all right, we'll switch back and forth. I think I saw Tell first. I'll go with, yeah, Tell, go ahead.
Yes. I was wondering when we're doing the inhalation and, for example, inhaling through the left channel and exhaling through the right, exhaling anger. When we're inhaling, are we supposed to do placement meditation and kind of focus on just the inhalation, or is there like something else, like maybe a antidote of anger that we could be focusing on when we're inhaling?
When you're exhaling, when you're exhaling through the right.
Or when we're inhaling
You're
through the
you're
left?
inhaling to the left and then exhaling to the right, no? And imagine anger being expelled. Uh, typically, I've never heard of, you know, meditating on an antidote to anger at that time. Where'd you go? I lost you on my screen. Oh, there you go. But you could. Why not? I mean, you can be creative, and yeah, you just certainly can. With all these things, you can be a bit creative, you know, too. I just, uh, yeah. Does that answer your question, Tel?
Yeah, because I was just wondering, since there is the inhaling, if I'm like, so it kind of just came to mind, inhaling like, um, I don't know, like compassion or patience, because that could be, but I don't know if that's
I
necessarily something
think, I
that,
mean, you can, but I think I wouldn't start off like trying to do that. No, it almost seems to me like trying to be too busy, right?
that's true,
It's good
yeah.
because I think the what do you say? Basically the theory behind the practice is that, remember, because this comes from Tantra, right? So very much central to Tantra is that, you know, disturbances in the mind, they don't arise just because of mistaken ways of thinking. They also arise because of imbalances in the energy in our bodies, right? That's why different foods can affect, you know, our attitudes, or when we're tired or when we're well rested, you know, it affects the mind. So the strategy of this breathing is, and there's the theory, I guess, that the energy of anger mainly is associated with the right side of the body and flows in the right channel. The energy of attachment is more associated with the left channel and has more like a sticky, the energy of it is more like sticky, whereas the energy of anger is more like hot and dry, like fire burning, you know? Where attachment is more like clinging, sticky energy, you know, clinging to something. And so the meditation is really working with just imagining those energies themselves, no? And so expelling that energy of anger. It's not so much applying these kind of logical antidotes to anger, which are also helpful, but this is, I wouldn't don't get distracted with that kind of thinking in this when you begin, right? begin by just working with those raw energies in a way. Imagine the energy of anger being expelled, and then the energy of attachment being expelled, and then the energy of ignorance being expelled, and just observe what happens in your mind. How does just doing that simple practice, how does that affect the mind? Because it's quite amazing, like what a profound difference it makes, just doing that. And then later, when you have more experience with that, if you want to incorporate more like, okay, I'm imagining, inhaling whatever compassion and applying antidote, you can also do that. You can combine that. But I wouldn't jump to that sort of complexity at first, right? Because then it could distract you from just experiencing, working with these energies of the body, just that plain energy. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Dave.
I just would, I would just like some hints on being able to focus on the specific energy of anger and the specific energies of attachment. Like
Like,
well, I mean, just to get a felt sense of that, like
yeah.
I can obviously understand the concept in my mind, but in terms of, actually honing that in a little bit would be
Sure.
helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. And a way to do that is, so yeah. So maybe like if you're going to do it in relation to this meditation practice, like before you, like, I don't know, before or after you visualize the channels, then you're thinking about, what you're going to do. Then as you imagine the energy of anger in the right channel, the thing to do is remember times of being angry in the past and observe how did I feel at the time? What kind of feelings arise in the body? What kind of energy arises in the mind? And imagine that. And I mean, here it's saying it's kind of a hot, like intense, kind of burning energy. Is that really the case? Or is there more, detail, more nuance you can add from your own experience? So does that match your own experience or not? So basically, I mean, whenever we meditate on like trying to understand a disturbing emotion, we can meditate. Usually, we begin with ourselves feeling that, right? So for anger, ourselves feeling anger. We can also reflect to get a sense of the energy of the anger. Imagine being the object of someone else's anger. When someone else is angry at us, we can feel their energy of anger and imagine in that way, like what is the energy of anger? And then we've been around when one person's angry at another person, we're not involved, we're a third person observer, but we also can feel the energy that's going on there. And so all of those three different ways of looking at anger can inform this imagination of, okay, this energy of anger within me, imagine it coming out. And then the same with attachment, right? Does that make?
What would be an example of when we felt attached to something? I mean,
Oh, well, you have to check for yourself. I don't want to dig into your personal life, but we've all got our attachments.
we define ourselves, I know
I
that.
mean,
But yeah.
but like food, typical things, we're all attached to some kind of food or, people, we find attractive or praise from others or a bit of, kind of getting one up on someone or winning, something. There's all kinds of attachment, money. Yeah, just have to check what are the forms of attachment for ourselves, and again, how does that make me feel? Or when someone like because we're saying attachment has this clinging energy. When someone else is attached to us, like our mother's so attached to us, you can feel that clingy energy that you're just kind of like, okay, just relax, or something, or yeah, or being around, another person strongly attached to something, you can feel that kind of intense, obsessive energy. Mhm.
Maybe we can do Joanne, Rob first online, and then Caroline, and then we can go to Hannah, and then someone else here.
Okay, thank you. Kara's organizing us. So Joanne, first.
Yeah, I was just wondering, do you typically do one course, one I don't want to say round because it's 9 round breath, but of this, like the
Uh,
9 breaths,
yeah,
or
but that's often
sometimes would you
it's
do
so flexible.
more?
Typically, well, I don't know if there's a typical, but often this is done like at the beginning of a meditation session, just to sort of clear the mind,
Mm-hmm.
and generate some focus in the mind. So you would just do one set of the 9 rounds.
Set. That's what.
Yeah, you could do one
Um,
set of 9 rounds, but of course you can do more. Um, and you could make this like the main, body of the meditation session, like do a set
okay.
of 9 rounds, then focus on the nature of the mind or something, and then do another set of 9 rounds. Yeah, it's all flexible.
Okay. Yeah, we did that with Venerable Angie during our meditations during the retreat, and it's really helpful. I just find it brings the focus very quickly.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
so
good, good.
anyway,
Okay, I'm
thank you.
glad to hear that. Rob?
Yes, I have a very beginner question,
Sure.
and one that's going to be coming from probably more of a Western perspective.
Hmm.
I was able to do the visualization, and the practice produced a very strong, good feeling.
Hmm.
But in the back of my head, the actual anatomy of the abdomen says that air can't get there. How do we get past that or not focus on it?
Oh, so you mean when you imagine the breath entering the central channel and then holding it.
Well, below the diaphragm, we have what's called a parietal peritoneum,
Hmm.
and it makes your organs area sterile. So
Hmm.
air cannot get there physically.
Yeah, yeah, I got you.
That sits in the back of my head, even though the visualization was working. But
Sure, sure. Yeah, I think so don't get too fixated on the air, right? When we say like actually when we talk about breath in Buddhism, it doesn't always refer to just the physical air that we're breathing. It can also refer to like the wind, it's called wind energy or prana or chi. So it's
Mhm.
like this subtle energy that flows with the actual physical breath, right? So don't get hung up on thinking, well, the air can't get there, so it's not really there. But it's more like try to basically it's like wherever we direct our mind, our attention, there's a subtle energy that rides with the mind and goes there, right? So like imagine now, like try to put your focus on your right foot, say, the tips of your toes and your right foot.
Mhm.
And you can you become more aware of some sensation there, right? So the idea in Buddhism is that it's like because you're directing your mind there, there's a subtle energy that goes to that part of the body, and then you feel more you become more sensitive to what sensations are arising there. So here it's like when we're at the time when we're doing the vase breathing, then you keep your awareness focused on that part of your abdomen, kind of, that area about from the belly button down, from the belly button down to about 4 finger widths below the belly button, that area, and just in the center of the body, right, and just in front of the spine.
Mhm.
um, and imagine this subtle energy kind of gathered there, right? And just by imagining the energy gathered there and focusing your attention there, it gathers energy there. And it's a subtle energy, it's not the breath, right? So
Yeah.
just sort of forget where the actual air is, wherever it is in the lungs, it doesn't matter.
Okay. I think the use of the word chi really helped me
Yeah,
grasp it more.
it's like
So,
chi. It's the same kind
yeah.
of energy when you get acupuncture, people manipulate with needles. It's that and more subtle than that. And also, I wanted to say, like, I meant to say in general, like when we visualize the channels, also, whether we have a clear visual image of the channels or not, it doesn't really matter. You don't really need to have just imagining that the channels are there and the energy is flowing there is enough. There doesn't need to be a clear visual image. That's not especially significant. And you can experiment even with, as you become more familiar with the practice. It's good to start by actually blocking the nostrils, but you can experiment by gradually not even physically blocking the nostrils, just imagining the breath going through, what is it, inhaling first to the left nostril and then out to the right, into the right, out to the right. And just by imagining that, it seems like it's not as much as blocking, but it flows more through the left or more through the right, according to how you imagine. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Let's see. Oh,
It's
it's
Carol.
Carolyn.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that for me, rather than focusing, on concepts like anger or compassion, I tend to stick with the smoke and dark tar, and I breathe in glittering nectar. I mean, and that keeps my brain in a better space for clearing.
Sure, yeah, you can also do that. Yeah, you can be creative. Linda?
So Hannah first, and then we'll go.
Okay.
Hello, Geshe.
Hi,
Can you
Hannah.
hear me? Okay.
I can hear you. Yeah.
So it's just a clarification question on the instructions, right? So we visualize the channels first, and then when we breathe in, do we kind of visualize that the energy going kind of up, down, and then cross to the next channel, and then back up from that channel to the crown, kind of back to the nose? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So in the first round, we block the right nostril, and then as you inhale through the left nostril, imagine the energy goes up the nostril, and then the channel is kind of inside under the skull, and then at the crown it kind of curves down like the curved handle of an umbrella. It's often described, and then curves down, and then comes from the crown. And so the left channel, right, is just next to the central channel, and then comes down straight just in front of the spine, straight down, and then comes down. And then so you have to imagine the left channel tucks into the right channel. The breath at 4 finger widths below the belly button, the breath, the wind energy flows into the right channel and then back, and then out through the nostril. Yeah.
And then for the center, I guess it will. Where does it come out also from because it begins, you said, on the third eye, right? So where does it, when you exhale? Yeah.
Yeah. No, good question. I was also thinking maybe I need to clarify that. So the breath, and here again, like Stan pointed out, there's different ways of describing it. So, but the way I remember is so the breath flows in through the nostrils and then down through the right and left channels. Then the bottoms of those tuck into the central channel. Then as the breath comes out through the central channel, around the crown, and then imagine it comes out through this point, the third eye, this point between the eyebrows. But if you imagine it comes out, because that's typically where the central channel is said to, the upper orifice is here. Yeah.
Thank you. That's all.
Welcome. Who's next, Kara?
Linda.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. It was great. I know that in my experience, when I've been taught the 9 breaths, there was hand movements involved as well.
Oh, no, I never heard that.
Really? Like, interesting. So maybe that's just a version. I think the other thing that I was trying to figure out is the colors and how we describe them. It's actually I thought it would be aligned with the Buddha families, but it doesn't. It's the opposite.
Yeah, I've never heard of, I don't remember. Yeah, again, there could be other, details. Also, I mean, the different traditions, it's different, right? But again, they're not especially significant, those, minor things. But yeah, hand movements I've never heard of a combination with that or associated with I mean, colors are always associated with Buddha families in different ways. But yeah.
Thank you.
I've never heard that association with the Buddha family.
Thank you.
Okay. Madhulika is next, Kara? Okay. Madhu. Hi, Madhu.
Hello, hi Keshla. I think my question was a lot of the channels sometimes are associated with the chakras in our body, and sometimes the visualizations can be effective if you identify or if you can or where those chakras are located, the energies within those chakras and how you sort of release them, become aware of them. Are you familiar with that, or does Tibetan Buddhism even talk about meditating on those chakras and the blockages? Because you mentioned briefly about them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's part of the like Tantra, Mahayana Tantra. Description of the chakras and how to, focus on different chakras and move energy and release different blockages in the chakras. But usually it's not taught like it's only taught to people who have quite a good sort of grounding in Buddhist teachings and especially in like positive attitudes like compassion, renunciation, understanding of dependent arising, emptiness, refuge, and so forth. Because and the reason for that like not teaching about chakras, because it's true, this kind of 9 round breathing, it is related to that very much. And a more advanced, visualization might involve, visualization of different chakras. But the reason it's usually not taught to, to people who are new, because it can be quite, it can severely, affect the mind. To if you don't know what you're doing, to meditate very intensely on the chakras, and it can cause the mind to become very unbalanced or cause even, wind disease and sickness or different, can cause mental afflictions to increase a lot. So typically in Buddhism, it's not taught until someone's quite advanced. Yeah.
Thank you, Geshe.
I have a quick one.
Okay.
What happens if one of your nostrils is blocked?
Yeah, like if you have a
congested?
cold or something.
Yes.
Yeah. Then you just imagine the energy flowing. Because remember, the main thing is not really the breath. The main thing is like a subtle energy. So then you would not block the other nostril, right? Because if say your right nostril's blocked and then you block the left one to inhale, you're going to die, right? You're not going to be able to breathe. So just leave the nostrils unblocked and imagine the breath flowing in through the right nostril and through the right channel, and it'll have a similar effect.
Thank you.
Okay. Seems like you all enjoyed that meditation quite a lot. Yeah, good. So, so for homework, you practice that one. I didn't see any. I was looking in the book How to Meditate. If there was is there a description of it in there? I didn't. Yeah. Okay. I didn't find.
It's in the beginning, page 16.
Can you say that again, someone?
I think it's on page 16 in the beginning.
Page 16. Gosh. Okay. I don't know. Anyway, I didn't see it because I have this ebook version of the book, and so it doesn't have page numbers because the number of pages varies with the font size, I think.
I have it on page 28 in the book.
Yeah, is it on?
Yeah.
Can one of you say? Can you see it on page what page number?
Page 28.
Page 28 in the paperback version. Okay. Yes, you have it. Oh, great. Thank you. Where is it? Anyway, you can remember what I said, I hope. I don't know. See you. That's okay. Yeah, you get it later.
It's a very short description. She doesn't really go into the channels or anything.
Let's see. I think I'll save this all for next week. So, okay. So just a bit more about analytical meditation, and then we'll do another meditation. So you can see in that how, in the 9 round breathing, it's an example of different types of analytical meditation and placement meditation a bit, right? So, because when we do the visualization of the channels, that's a type of analytical meditation. And then as we breathe and we imagine these different processes happening, imagine expelling the energy of anger, expelling the energy of attachment, expelling the energy of ignorance, and feeling the kind of peace and clarity and kind of natural radiance and joy that arises in the mind from being free from, those obscurations. That imagination is also, and feeling that, being aware of that is a kind of analytical meditation. And then the base breathing also. And then, but at the conclusion of one set of 9 rounds, then is when we practice more placement meditation, just focusing on the mind itself and trying to just be aware of that without doing anything else, right? So at that time, then is placement meditation. Yeah, so that's an example of how to combine analytical meditation and placement meditation. And then if you want to continue doing, another set of the 9 rounds, then, when you focus on the clear, kind of blissful nature of the mind for a while, you see the awareness of that and the sense of that gradually fades. And then you do another set of 9 rounds and focus on that again. And then thereby become more and more habituated to or familiar with that very, very kind of blissful state of mind. Yeah, I think similar to Rob's question about, getting hung up on the where the breath actually is. I was also finding myself getting hung up on, this, well, kind of a skeptical thought that, well, but I'm feeling a little blissful, but because I've just been depriving my brain of blood, some better or oxygen. Is it really the blissful nature of mind, or am I just like hyperventilating or depriving my brain of blood or something?
I was thinking the exact opposite of that. In other words,
Wait for the microphone so that people online can hear you.
in the evening, I can be lethargic, and so laxity. I was thinking that experiencing that 9-round breathing energizes me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, maybe it's actually giving more oxygen to your brain.
I think
gives you that
that's what I'm
euphoric
saying.
experience.
It's really
Yeah.
you're kicking circulation up.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think, when we're doing that, it's not a time to entertain those kind of doubts. We just kind of we try to stay with the blissful, nature of the mind, idea. And then that's a really, I mean, doing that, this 9-round breathing meditation is a very good basis then to go on to do any other kind of meditation on the basis of that. Makes it much more powerful. Um, so now, before we end the class for tonight, I'd like to do a short meditation on loving kindness. Is another, excellent, very simple, very beneficial meditation practice to do. That is also an example of it's basically an analytical meditation, which also involves placement meditation. So let's get comfortable in our meditation posture. Once again. Gradually turn your awareness within. Take a few deep breaths if you like. Clear the mind. And then gradually bring your awareness to your breath. And just be aware of your breathe naturally and be aware of the sensations of breathing for a minute. So first we'll meditate on loving kindness for ourselves. And so the main way we do that is just focus, direct our attention to ourselves and try to generate the mind of loving kindness is essentially the mind that wishes for someone to be well and happy, to have well-being in all the different forms that that can take, well-being in the body, comfort and, ease, freedom from sickness, health in the body, and then also in the mind, have well-being in the mind, happiness, clarity, peace, and joy. So all the different forms that, well-being and happiness can take, then we wish those. And so here we're focusing on ourselves. So wishing that for ourselves. And it also helps to recognize there's many forms of well-being and happiness that we don't have at the present moment. And wishing those for ourselves. And then there's others we do have, other forms of well-being and happiness we have, and wishing that those increase and don't decline. So the main attitude is a heartfelt, wish, may I be well and happy. And it can help to, repeat a phrase expressing that wish. But the main thing is not, not a phrase. It's not something that's just words or just a thought, but it's a heartfelt intention or a wish for us to be well and happy. And so, yeah, try for a couple minutes. Again, you can use a phrase if you want, thinking, may I be well and may I be happy. Or you can not use that if you like, but try to generate this loving, caring attitude directed at oneself, wishing for every form of well-being and happiness for oneself. And then when you feel some genuine degree of that loving kindness for yourself, then gradually extend that attitude out to first one other person. So focus on one other person and generate the same wish. May they be well and happy. And within that, you can also think about, imagine what sort of, well-being and happiness in the body and mind that would be most beneficial for them. But the main thing is just this caring, loving attitude extending to this one other person. And then once you feel some degree of that towards them, then kind of maintaining some degree of loving kindness for yourself and this other person, then extend out to another person. It's kind of like, ripples in water when you throw a stone into a still pond, how the ripples radiate out in every direction. And you gradually imagine extending this attitude to encompass more and more people. And gradually try to extend this attitude of loving kindness, out to every, throughout the universe, to every sentient being, without discriminating, between those we like, those we dislike, or between humans and animals and other beings. So imagine just like the sun radiates light in every direction without discriminating between some or different people. So like that, imagine radiating loving kindness out to every sentient being. May they be well, may they be happy. Okay, so gradually take a minute and conclude your meditation by first just reviewing what you've meditated on this evening in this session. And especially considering any doubts or questions that arose or any insights that you gleaned or new experiences you had that you'd like to build on in the future. And then we can dedicate by first rejoicing in whatever virtue and merit we've created together. And in all the positive energy created by countless other sentient beings like us. And by all the enlightened beings, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So we can imagine by the force of this oceans of infinite positive energy gathered together, then may all sentient beings taste the pure, clear, blissful nature of their own minds and recognize that in themselves and in others. And generate wisdom, knowing that in themselves and others, and the possibility of enlightenment. And also, may all sentient beings, ourselves and others, increase this attitude of loving kindness. That's universal, extends to all, and is unconditional for all sentient beings. And then bring to mind any other prayers or dedications you'd like to make. Bring those to mind. So may all those your own wholesome intentions be fulfilled in accordance with your wish. And then we can conclude by reading some verses from the Bodhisattva's Way of Life by the great Bodhisattva Shantideva. May the blind see forms, may the deaf hear sounds, may the naked find clothing, the hungry find food, may the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, may those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments, and may every disease in the world never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid, and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting one another. May no living creature ever suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled, or their minds ever be depressed. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. May I be a protector for those without one, a guide for all travelers on the way. May I be a bridge, a boat, and a ship for all who wish to cross the ocean. May I be an island for those who seek one, and a lamp for those desiring light. May I be a bed for all who wish to rest, and a servant for all who want a servant. And until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach into the ends of space. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures, for as long as space remains, and for as long as sentient beings remain. Until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Yeah, may I do all that. Okay, thank you all. That's it for tonight. That's right. You have to complete all that by next week.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you, Geshe.